Now, here is where leaders just totally get off track and they don't know what's happened until somebody comes along and explains it to them. It is so easy to confuse the vision that God has given us, the calling on our life, the thing God has called us to do in our community. It is so easy to confuse that with a plan. The plan is, how are we going to do the vision? And we get so enamored with our plans and we fall so in love with our plans, and it's understandable because you have to finance your plans. You got to talk about your plans. You got to have a PowerPoint for your plans. You got to commit to your plans. You got to explain your plans. You got to get everybody to buy into the plan. And then when a plan doesn't work, our temptation is to say, well, then, we're on the wrong track. We shouldn't be doing this anyway. And, we're chasing the wrong vision and the world's come to an end. Plans change all the time. When we did our first fundraiser, it was awful. Primarily because I came up with it myself. I thought I had this great fundraising idea. We need to raise a bunch of money to buy this property, actually. So I sat down with our group. I said, I got this great idea. And they were like, whatever. We'd never done a fundraiser before. So we launched this fundraiser. It was terrible. I'm not even going to tell you what it was. It was so bad. And no money was coming in, okay? And we're getting up there. You know how you're trying to manufacture energy around a bad idea? You're going, this is really a bad idea. But if I pitch my voice higher, maybe someone will believe it's a good idea. And you're going, this isn't even your wife and kids are like, bad idea. So anyway, we're casting this compelling vision for a bad fundraiser, and so no money's coming in, or almost none. So I have this dear friend named Mcluhan, and some of you know Marcia. And I would say this with her sitting here. She's just a saint. Almost died of leukemia. I would visit her in the hospital, and you leave the hospital sometime and you think, God. So she was on the brink of death. But anyway, so she's great now. But back then she came to me because she's a little bit of a prophet. She's Andy. That's how she'd start every conversation. Andy, because she's known me forever. Andy. She said, so the money's not coming in. No, Marsh, it's not. What do you think God's trying to tell you? You ever get one of those things? Now, I love Marcia. Here's what's behind the question, okay? Since the money's not coming in, then, maybe we shouldn't be doing this church. Since the plan isn't working out, maybe the vision is incorrect. See, people connect those real easily. You connect them. We all connect them. Andy, what do you think God's trying to tell you? I said, Marcia, I think he's trying to tell me that I came up with a really lousy fundraising idea. I think that's all he's trying to tell me. We're still going to create a church, unchurched people love to attend, but this plan has got to go. This is a bad plan. Never confuse, and I'm telling you, for the people who follow you, you have got to sort this out over and over and over. And when times are uncertain, that's the time sometimes you got to abandon your plans, but you don't abandon your vision. Listen, when the culture, when the climate, when the circumstances change, you have to be willing and be flexible enough to abandon and change your plans. If you don't, you'll go down, you'll go down in a pile. And this is dangerous, and this may be offensive depending on your religious, how you came up, but it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous to attach God's name to your plan. You know why you went, because you've seen it. Because I'm telling you, when you get up there and say, God told me, whoo, you can't abandon it. There ain't no going back then, right? You can't get back up and say, okay, now God, I think he told me, but I think what he really meant when he told, you're dead. So I'm telling you, God may give you a vision, that's great, but don't sign God's name to all your plans because plans change. Read the Bible. Plans change. There's a great illustration of this. A lot of you have read Built to Last by Jim Collins. I love this. He in Built to Last, he interviews Sam Walton's son, founder of Walmart and Sam's and all that stuff, he interviews his son. And here's what he said. He says, Sam Walton, founder of Walmart, was clearly a visionary. Throughout his career, he stayed committed to his original vision of providing, this is awesome, his original vision of providing value to his customers in order to make their lives better. That's what Sam Walton lived to do. I'm going to give you great value to make your life better. Sam, what are you going to do today? I'm going to give great value to people to make their lives better. What are you going to do tomorrow? I'm going to create great value to make people's lives better. What about the next day? I think I'm going to spend every day of my life that I can creating value to make people's lives better. That was his vision. But he was notorious for changing plans and abandoning strategies. Jim Walton, Sam's son, addressed this unexplored side of his father's business savvy. And here's what his son said about his dad. He said, we all snickered at some writers who viewed dad as a grand strategist who intuitively developed complex plans and implemented them with precision. And here's what he said about his dad. Dad thrived on change, and no decision was ever sacred. The vision never changed, but the plans changed all the time. Now, church leaders, you know what? This is a real Achilles heel for us. Because, and I understand this, because whenever we're trying to figure stuff out, we pray and we get wise counsel, hopefully, and we leave meetings sometimes feeling like God has moved and the Holy Spirit has spoken, and we got to do that and we've got to be dependent, but I'm just telling you, don't die on the hill of your plans. You die on the hill of your vision and your calling, but not your plans. And the more uncertain circumstances in the culture becomes, the more flexible we have to be with our plans. Otherwise, someone will so closely associate a plan with our vision that when our plan doesn't work out, they hijack or steal or, are critical of the vision. I wrote in my notes, be stubborn with your vision, but be flexible with your plans. Every leader has failed plans. Don't confuse your vision with your plans. And let me tell you something that's so cool about what's going on right now. Now, don't tell anybody I told you this, because this will get you in trouble. But listen, you can blame everything right now on the economy. You know that. Now, let me tell you where this will work for you, all right? See, in your church, there's some things you want to change anyway, right? There's some bad plans. You inherited some plans, right? Your whole children's ministry is just a bad plan. You're like, somebody needs to blow up. I don't want the whole church to burn down, but I wish like when it's empty, the children's wing would burn down, because then we couldn't do it that way anymore. And we shouldn't be doing it that way anyway, but we're locked into a plan because somebody built a building. Buildings can lock you into a bad plan, can't they? You build the wrong building, you are locked in because, well, Pastor, we built that building, so we got to use it. And you're like, oh, I wish we'd never built that building, okay? But let me just tell you what you can do when you go back. You can blame everything on the economy. The uncertainty we're in right now is a great time to change all kinds of stuff. I'm telling you, it is. You don't like Vacation Bible School anymore? I'm just telling you. Just start planting that seed. With the economy, I'm not sure we can do Vacation Bible School this summer. There's that big old room, down there that you need for middle school, but the Bertha's Bible class has got it, and it's got pictures of Jesus, and you're like, that's not Jesus. And there's like 8 people meeting in there, but you could put 200 in there, but they've been there forever. And the pastor that was there before you said, you're going to have to wait for all of them to die off before you can use that room. This is your chance. Just go in there and say, you know what? With the economy, we got to have that room. Yeah, I guess so. That's the economy. See, uncertainty, you can get more done in uncertainty because everybody has a sense of, we got to be more flexible. We got to be more flexible. I'm telling you, you need to make a list of all the stuff you need to want to change in your church. And I'm telling you, while things are up in the air and things are uncertain, this is the time to rethink staff, to rethink use of facilities, rethink your giving, where it's going. You rethink everything. And then you just suddenly say, well, with the economy the way it is, you just this is the time to, now don't tell anybody I told you that, but I'm just telling you, okay? Some of you, let me tell you what, look. Some of you, and I tell you, you know this. This isn't new information. You're smart people. Some of you need to quit doing your worship service in your sanctuary and move it to the gym, right? Because, when you do service in sanctuary, you have to do it sanctuarially or sanctuatoriously, or it's formal. You can't do informal things in a formal setting. I'm telling you, the building locks you into a plan, whether the plan is good or not. So this is the time to say to your leaders, say, you know what? With the economy the way it is, I think we could save a lot of money if we don't turn the lights on in the sanctuary. And those big old halogen lights in the gym, those things are so cost efficient. And anybody that's green is going to be, that's right, Pastor. And you can move your whole, you figure out how to leverage uncertainty for the vision. Okay, let's move on. Now that's, so the point being clarity, flexibility, clarity, flexibility, clarity, flexibility. In times of uncertainty, clarity, flexibility, clarity, flexibility, clarity, flexibility. Now, along the way, 3 quick things you got to do. First, you got to be honest with your leaders and followers, except for that part I just told you just then. You got to be, in other words, and let me tell you what I mean by that, okay? As you lead with confidence through uncertainty, don't fake it. Don't pretend to know something you don't know. The temptation will be to do that. When you lead confidently into uncertainty, you don't pretend to know something you don't know. And so I wrote down some ways here's a way to express confidently your uncertainty, because that's what you got to learn how to do. You say things like this: I don't know right now, but we're going to figure it out. Well, Pastor, I don't know right now, but we're going to figure it out. I don't know right now, but when the time comes to do something about it, I'm confident we're going to have an answer. Well, Pastor, what if the thing goes over? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know right now, but I'm confident when we get to the edge of the river, we're going to figure out how to get through all that water. I don't know right now, but God has always been faithful to guide us in the past, hasn't he? Well, yeah, Pastor, I guess he has, Hasn't God always been faithful in the past? Yeah. Well, listen to it. I don't know. We're going to do what we know to do. We're going to trust God to do what we don't know how to do, but God ain't going to do anything until we do what we know how to do. So I don't know yet, but we're going to move forward and trust God to guide us as we go. I could be wrong, but I believe this is the best course of action. You got to say that. Say, I could be wrong, but you know what? I believe this is the best course of action. I'm not going to pretend I know the future. I'm not going to pretend I've looked into a crystal ball, but I'm telling you what, this is the direction I think God wants us to go. You have to learn through your own personality and with your own words to clearly express what you know is confident and what you know is true in the face of uncertainty without pretending to know something you don't know. You've got to be so careful with that. The second thing is you do need to seek counsel. Now, here's a statement for you. Leadership is not about making decisions on your own. It's about owning decisions once they're made. This is huge for us. Leadership's not about making decisions on your own. It's about owning these decisions once they're made. So when you look at uncertainty, this is the time to have a lot of counsel. The person who wrote the most about seeking counsel in the Bible was the person who needed counsel the least, Solomon. He was the wisest person in the world. Who's going to counsel Solomon? No one. But he wrote more about seeking wisdom and counsel than anybody else. And the last thing is this. And I'm not just tagging this on because, we're all Christians and ministry people. You got to pray like crazy. And I don't mean driving praying. And I don't mean sitting at your desk, staring out the window praying. I mean, you got to find a place where you get on your knees and pray. And you plead with God for direction. And you plead with God for as much clarity as you can possibly get around your calling and around your vision. And I think it's those times on our knees that God takes us back. He takes us back and he whispers in our ear, what did I call you to begin with? What are you here for? What did I call you to this community to do? Why did I call you into ministry? Remember when you were 18 years old? When you were 18 years old and I called you, how much money did you have? 0. How many people were following you? 0. Okay, well, you're good then. Because you got more money and more people following you than 18, so it's good. Right? Isn't that true? When God called you to ministry, did you have offerings coming in? No. Did you have a building when God called you? No. Was anybody even following you when God called you? No. You said yes to God when there wasn't anything. So look how far ahead you are from then. But I'm telling you, it's in those moments on our knees when we're grappling and having it out with God and saying, God, if you don't, it won't. If you don't, it won't. If you don't, it won't. And God, where are you? I'm just telling you, you know this. That's where that peace comes from. That's where that sense of confidence comes from when you get up off your knees, not out of your chair or out of the car, off your knees, and you think, I'm recentered. I'm back to where I started. Here's what God has called me to do. I'm just going to do that. Here's what God has called us to do in our community. We can still do that. Here's the difference God has put in my heart and mind to make in our city or our town or in this church. We can still do that. And what you'll discover is this. As you have it out with God one-on-one, God's probably not going to speak to you and say, don't worry, my child. By October, the economy will have turned around. Borrow that. You may get that. If you do, call me. I would love to have that kind of clarity from God. But here's what you will get. He's just going to take you back to when you were 25 years old and walked that aisle. Shook some guy's hand. You don't even remember his name. And you said it with tears in your eyes, I think God's calling me to ministry. I think God's calling me to serve children. I think God's calling me to be a missionary. I think God's calling me to be a pastor. I think God's calling me to preach. I think God's calling me. I don't know what he's called me to. I just think God's called me. Remember those days? It was so emotional. It was so real. It's why you're sitting here. I'm telling you, there is extraordinary clarity that comes with allowing God to take you back to those early days. And with that clarity, you'll have the confidence to lead through uncertain times.